Good evening, everyone. We have lots of participants, attendees coming in.
Good.
Isabel, do you want to put up the welcome screen for a second?
Yeah, I can do that.
And I'll go turn down my husband's computer.
Marianne, can you let in Rosalind?
Sure, let me check.
Right, we'll get started in just a minute here, everybody.
Rosalind is now a panelist.
Still got a few stragglers coming in. All right, let's get started. Welcome and Happy New Year to everybody. I know it's February, but I haven't been able to chat with everyone yet this new year. I am so glad you're able to join me and our guests for this year's State of the District. This is our 6th State of the District. For those of you who are new to District 6 residents, as a result of our redistricting efforts, we do this every year, and I want to welcome you. And we are glad that you're part of our District 6 community. This is our time, as some of you know, and some of you are new, this is our time to come together and reflect on the last year and to look forward to what we hope to achieve in the next year, this year and beyond. So I want to introduce the D6 team. We've been working remotely off and on for the last 6 months or so. And I think probably everyone hasn't met everybody in the team. So I do want to introduce everyone. Isabel, if you want to take down the slide so that we can see. Our Chief of Staff is Marianne Groen.
Hi, everybody. Good evening.
And Diana Alanis is our council aide who works on homelessness, parks, public safety, and events.
Hello, everyone.
And Diana is still in the office, I see. And Trey Gray is our council aide. Many of you know Trey because he attends many of our events. And he does dumpster days, events, and proclamations and commendations.
Hello, everybody. Good evening.
Linda Nellis is one of our new employees, relatively new employees, new in 2021. And Linda is the executive admin. So she's the one who's answering the phone and taking care of scheduling, as well as our grant. Isabel Sanchez is our communications guru. Hi, Isabel.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for coming. It means you got my emails, so I'm happy.
So she does social media, the newsletter, the website, all that good stuff. And Nicholas Ochoa is another council aide who is new to our team. And Nicholas is working on housing, economic development, historic landmarks, and environmental issues.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome.
And we have another team member, my deputy chief of staff, Luancy Mua. Many of you know her. She will be joining us shortly. She is in charge of transportation and public works issues. So can we see the agenda slide? Just want everyone to know kind of what's going on this evening. We'll be going through achievements and kind of what we did in 2021 as a team. We'll do a little update on neighborhoods because of the redistricting that we did in 2021 citywide, and then go through the goals that we have for this year. And then we will have some guest speakers today. So we will hear from Mayor Liccardo, our city manager, Jennifer Maguire. She's also new to that role in 2021, so you may not have met her yet. Our assistant police chief, Paul Joseph, also new to that role in 2021. And then our deputy director from Parks, Recreation and Neighborhood Services, Andrea Flores Shelton, will be presenting. And after everyone has presented, we will have time for Q&A. I see that some people have already discovered we have Q&A on Zoom as well, and you can feel free to ask questions in there. As you are doing that, if my staff will be answering those questions, and there are some other city staff members who are on as well to be answering those questions, and they'll be saving some of them if they think we should address them to the whole group. They'll be saving them for that. And then you can also have the chat feature is also open, but if you have a question that you want answered or want us to answer in the Q&A, please put it in the Q&A portion. Please put it in the Q&A. And then we'll also have time at the end for people to raise their hands and ask questions live. So that's how we're going about it this evening. So can we go to our next slide, please? All right, in 2021, it was very busy, and I'm sure many of you remember that the beginning of the year, we didn't have a vaccine yet, and we did finally get one in early 2021. So we did do a lot of encouragement. Many of you got our emails or saw our social media posts about vaccinations and also testing for COVID-19. We continue to do that. We did have a vaccination site at Food Max over on Parkmore. And of course, many emails and social media posts about vaccinations and testing. And of course, now we're into the boosters, and the picture on the left was our most recent booster event that was in, I think it was in December, wasn't it, Isabel? I can't remember, December or January.
It was January.
That we had at the Willow Glen Community Center. So if you haven't gotten boosted yet, please do feel free to do that. And I know that someone on my team will put the link in the chat for where you can go to get to find a testing site. I think it's SCC FreeVax. I spent time fighting for local control in city planning. Many of you know about SB 9, or in the city of San Jose, it actually started earlier than that. And that was, it was called Opportunity Housing. And it was really an attempt to eliminate single family home zoning citywide. And it actually passed at the state level. So single family home zoning has been eliminated statewide. And I have then, after I opposed that and opposed the implementation of that in the city of San Jose, which the way that it was passed in the city of San Jose was to actually even look at historic and conservation neighborhoods. And the staff will be coming back to us with that as well. I did not support that. And I am supporting the statewide initiative to take back local control of land use decisions, and am working on this not as part of my council member, but as another activity, extracurricular activity on that statewide initiative. And if you want to learn more about that, please contact me separately at devdavis.com. And I'd be happy to chat with you about it. We also, if you look at the lower left corner, we started the destruction of an office park on Parkmore, and so that we could begin construction of a foster care. It's actually emancipated teens, former foster youth hub. And that will be a new site that will also include, in addition to the hub, it will include housing for formerly foster youth. We sponsored multiple dumpster days in 2021, and I want to thank the neighborhood associations who helped host these dumpster days. So Trey is always there and we have our team there, but we could not do it without the many volunteers from the Buena Vista Neighborhood Association, the Corey Neighborhood Association, Willow Glen Neighborhood Association, and the North Willow Glen Neighborhood Associations. And we will certainly be hosting more dumpster days in this year. So if you would like your neighborhood to be considered for a dumpster day, please contact our office and let us know that you would like a dumpster day in your neighborhood. And I know that Del Mas Park was one of our new neighborhoods and they've already asked for one, so we'll be doing that. We also collaborated with the community and with SJPD to do a cleanup in the Farm Drive neighborhood. We also brought back movie nights and concerts, and that was actually that was my favorite part of 2021, where we actually could do things outside and have events again. So I love hosting those, and we'll be doing more of those in 2022 as well. I hosted a Blue Zones conference in 2021. That was in August. And what we really learned about was the critical role that your social network, your in-person social network plays in our mental and our physical health. And that's actually, it's actually a program that is in about 6 cities nationwide about improving our health and our longevity, how long we live and how long we live healthy lives. And that's in 6 cities nationwide. And I'm working on developing partnerships with local community groups and organizations to hopefully make San Jose a Blue Zones project city in hopefully the near future. We also cracked down on sideshows. So Councilmember Esparza and I led that effort. And I think that our chief will talk about that a little bit, about Blue Zone, or about sideshows and how they decreased when we went after both the spectators of sideshows as well as the promoters of sideshows. So not just the people who participate, but everyone involved in sideshows now is prohibited from doing that. We did many streetlight conversions. So LED streetlights have been popping up all around the city. And we have over 3,000 of those citywide. I think that number is citywide, but it might be district-wide. And those are brighter lights and more efficient lights as well. So it is improved safety and improved energy efficiency. Next slide. All right. We had a number of fun parks things happen in 2021 in our district. Lincoln Glen Park has new all-inclusive equipment. So children of all abilities can play at that park, and it is a very well loved and well-used park already. We also did work at other parks too, not as comprehensive, but we did do a lot of maintenance and a few little projects here and there, one very big project at River Glen Park. The ball fields are being redone, and that project continues as we move toward the end of February. It will be complete. We purchased an old Pizza Hut for a new future park site at 199 Ray Street. Many of you who live in the Shasta Hanchett Park neighborhood already know about that site, the old Pizza Hut site. We're calling it, tentatively, we're calling it Tillman Park because it is also off of Tillman, between Race and Tillman. We also reinstalled the sonic runway at City Hall. I'm excited about that. You may remember the sonic runway from a couple of years ago. We have a new semi-permanent exhibit and it will be up until 2027. And as luck would have it, there was a nice big picture of that. If you get the Mercury News in the paper version, there was a nice big picture of that in the local section today. We extended alfresco dining permanently. So you may remember from State of the District last year that in 2020, I was the co-author with the mayor in creating the alfresco program, allowing our businesses to open and do their business outside so that it would be safe during the pandemic. And it was a huge hit. Even when people could dine inside, they still loved being outside. And of course, we have such wonderful weather that there are many, many days of the year that you can dine outside. So we made that permanent. I also asked for and got in the budget funding for a citywide fireworks display. We did not have one the last year or two, I think. And we have seen an uptick in illegal fireworks when we don't have a legal citywide display. So we're going to have that again on July 4th this year, which I'm very excited about. In terms of helping deal with our homelessness problem, we opened one site that's city run in District 6 on Evans Lane, and that is an interim housing site specifically for families. So we have many children who are at that site. And that site, by the way, is off of Kurtner. So if you're familiar with where a Conklin Brothers is, it's right there. And they have outside the gates, they have a little free library. So if you're looking for a place to drop children's books or even books for adults, please do consider using that site as one of your delivery sites for your library books. We had an Eagle Scout make a number of little free libraries, and he was kind enough to install one there at Evans Lane in that housing site. We had many, many traffic safety projects completed as well. We were able to pave 21 miles in District 6 alone, and I think it was over 200 miles citywide. So a lot of paving happened in the last year. There, to do a little bit of traffic calming on Willow Glen Way, we had the Department of Transportation put in some edge lines. So that what that does is that visually narrows the street and it makes people drive a little bit slower. We did a huge project on Fruitdale. For those of you who go by there on a regular basis, you know that the lanes got reconfigured in addition to the repaving. And I think as well, I know there was at least one, there might've been two pedestrian crossing section lights added to that. We also did a walk audit for the Buena Vista neighborhood, and that is looking at a comprehensive look at how pedestrian safety can be improved in that area. So staff is working on that as well. And then many of you know already from, again, the Shasta Hanchett or the Rose Garden neighborhood about Nagley being reconfigured and the left turn pockets happening at Nagley and Dana to make left turns safer on that area right by Trace Elementary. All right, next slide. So I want to go over redistricting just really quickly. You can see the map on the left where District 6 is the bright pink is the area that we had before and we retained. And there are a few areas that you see that are kind of a different shade of pink or light purple. And those are areas that we lost or gained. So the neighborhoods that are no longer in District 6 are the Villas, which is near Santana Row. So you can kind of see that over between District 6, it moved into District 1. And then on the south side of District 6, moving into District 9, 3 neighborhoods, Rubino Circle, Farm Drive, and the Willow Creek Canoas Garden neighborhood all have moved into District 9. And then new for District 6 are the sort of the darker pink area up on the north part of District 6, of the District 6 border. We gained Little Italy, Gardner neighborhood, and which is near where I live, and Delmas Park. And so we got those from District 3. And I do want to assure everyone, whether you live in neighborhoods that are no longer officially in District 6 or whether you are new to District 6, we have done a wonderful turnover with our colleagues, and it has been very just wonderful to work with folks and make sure that everything is a smooth transition. And I do want to be clear, because there have been some misunderstandings about what this means. This redistricting map is only for council districts. It does not in any way impact your emergency services. Emergency services are based on calls for service and usage. And so both police and fire have their own maps that they do separately, and they're based on calls for service, not on council districts. So I just want to be clear about that. All right, and let's move into 2022. So I think many of you already know how I feel about this, but I feel very strongly that our residents deserve a safe, clean, and thriving San Jose. And that is what I will be focusing on in 2022 and beyond. Our plan is to have 33 miles of District 6 be repaved this year. We will definitely be opening Fire Station 37. For those of you who don't know, that's on Lincoln near Kirtner, next to the Willow Glen Community Center. It is actually almost complete, and I believe it will be opening in March or April. We absolutely need to strengthen our relationship with Caltrans to clean up our highways and our exits and entrances, our freeway entrances. I think many of you know, I mean, pick your freeway, you know that there is likely a homeless encampment there and a lot of trash. And we are working not only with Caltrans, but also with our counterparts in Sacramento, in the Assembly and the State Senate, to ensure that we can get those areas cleaned and then also keep those areas clean. And that is the tricky part. So we are working on that. And Diana is actually spending a ton of time on that. So we are hoping to get a breakthrough very soon. We will also continue to be partnering with Santa Clara County for homeless housing services. So for those of you who don't know, Santa Clara County, the county government is in charge of providing social services. So that's behavioral and mental health, drug and alcohol addiction services, as well as all the services for homeless individuals. What the city does is we supplement that a little bit, but we also help with providing the housing part of that for homelessness. So it really does require a partnership. And I have spent my entire time in office working with faith and community groups on homelessness solutions, including safe parking and affordable housing, as well as safe interim shelter. We have a lot of those things going on, but I know I'm running out of time, and we will just continue with that. What we always do is with homeless housing sites in District 6, we always have community advisory groups. So for the areas that are new to District 6, we will be starting community advisory groups that in areas that don't have them, that are near homeless housing sites. And we will continue the ones for areas that we do have. We will also continue to collaborate with the planning department for faster and better service. And that's actually my chief of staff, Marianne Groen, has been in contact with many of you who have contacted our office with some concerns or frustrations with the planning and permitting departments. Please continue to contact my office and let us know. And we are working on that.
And
Very important.
Councilmember, I'm going to break in. I'm sorry. The
Yep.
mayor has a hard stop at 6:30.
That's right. I'm
You know
sorry.
what? I can wait. Why don't I wait a few minutes? Please wrap up. I don't want to.
Yep.
I don't want to. you're in the middle of goals. That's an important part.
Sorry,
We're
sorry
okay.
about that, Mayor.
I can push it off. No worries.
Okay, I'll just say that we will be hosting more events, and one of those events I'm very excited to do, hopefully will be in the fall, where we will begin construction of Handship Park. For anyone who's on here who is a new neighborhood association member, please reach out to my office, because we do want to meet with all the brand new neighborhood associations and make sure we are attending your neighborhood association meetings, just as we have done for all of our District 6. All right. Thank you so much. I'm sorry, Mayor.
No worries at all. Actually,
All right.
that was good stuff. I was enjoying it.
Thank you. I will turn it over to you now, Mayor Sam Liccardo. We're going to give you as many minutes as you want. And then I'm hoping that you will be willing to take 3 questions from the audience after you're done, if you have time.
Sure. Yeah, maybe I'll just try to move through what I was going to say real quickly so we can get right to the questions. But I just want to say thank you, Councilmember Davis, for your leadership in our city and what appears to be your growing District 6 empire. After redistricting, I think you're slowly taking over the entire city. So District 6 is clearly getting stronger and bigger. It was suggested to me that I talk about 2 of the biggest concerns. Well, 2 of the 3 biggest concerns, I should say. I'm happy to talk about the 3rd as well, but focus on homelessness and blight in our city. I know crime is also a primary concern, but let me just focus on those 2 for a moment. I want to let you know that certainly we are all, Councilmember Davis and I and folks in the city team, digging in every way we can to find more cost-effective solutions to homelessness. We know that ultimately housing is one of the critical solutions. We know there's a lot of other solutions too. We clearly need drug treatment, mental health treatment, and other services. But we've got to get folks housed because treating them while they're living under a bridge doesn't actually get anybody off of a meth habit. So what we are trying to do is to see how we can build housing more cost effectively. Something we pioneered really with Councilmember Davis's partnership and leadership is something I call quick build apartment communities. We have now built 3 of these through the pandemic, one on Evans Lane in District 6. That's housing families, and we've got the 2 others housing individuals. We've just broken ground on a 4th project, and a 5th will be under construction soon. The idea is using prefabricated modular construction on typically public land that's not highly desired, often land that's near a freeway, for example, where other builders aren't likely to build. And we've been able to partner with Caltrans and others. And we're finding that we're able to build these units, which are basically dorm rooms, private bedrooms and baths in each dorm room with community facilities for kitchens and so forth. And we're building them at a small fraction of what we typically spend, which is about $800,000 a unit, believe it or not, for an apartment building these days. Instead, spending no more than $150,000 per unit. We're able to build them in a much faster pace, 5 or 6 months at a time rather than 5 or 6 years. So this is a model we want to clearly replicate and grow and scale. Grateful for Councilmember Davis's efforts to help us do so. Secondly, we're going to continue to look for motels to convert, to bring people from outside in. We started this way back in 2015 before Gavin Newsom made it cool. Before they called it home key. I don't know what we were calling it. I think we were calling it motel conversions. And again, Councilmember Davis was at the forefront. The first 2 projects, one of them was in her district. That's Casa de Novo. And just recently, a project that is now in her district on North First Street, which I think was previously not her district, just won a statewide award. That's the Best Western Sure Stay, where we've been able to house several dozen unhoused people in that motel. So we're going to apply for 5 more of these motel conversions to state funding and continue to do all we can to expand that promising concept. And then finally, another somewhat innovative approach, what we call YIGBY, which is an acronym that stands for Yes in God's Backyard. The idea is there are churches who have indicated they want to use their parking lots to help serve those who are struggling in our community. And in fact, a prominent church, prominent congregation. Councilmember Davis's district has again stepped up. And so as we identify and overcome the hurdles, and if that plan becomes solid, I think you'll be hearing more about that. And again, appreciate Councilmember Davis's willingness to pioneer these different concepts, because we need a lot of creative solutions. Some more to come on that front. And then I'll just move quickly to trash and blight. No question that we need to do more because we all see far too much of it on our roadways in particular. So beginning with our highways, I'll be meeting with the district director of Caltrans in the next week, I believe, to discuss why it is they continue to shortchange Santa Clara County and San Jose and their regional cleaning. And we were able to actually establish it numerically by unpacking their budget and finding that, yes, Santa Clara County is not getting its per capita share of Caltrans resources. And they continue to tell us that the challenges around staffing and filling vacancies. So we're literally helping them hire people through our San Jose Bridge program, which has been up and running for a couple of years, where we're helping unhoused residents be able to find permanent employment first by cleaning up city streets and helping them get on their feet, getting them housing and supportive services, and then helping them find other jobs. We've managed to get a few folks employed by Caltrans. Actually, one just got a job from Tesla, which is fantastic. We're going to be scaling that to 150 participants this year. And we're really grateful for Goodwill's partnership. They've been the lead on this effort. We're also going to be expanding a program, or we are expanding currently, something we call Cash for Trash. We know that encampments are often the source of a lot of trash because as human beings, we all produce trash. It's just not the case that all of us have the ability to be able to pay a garbage bill that enables someone to come and pick up our trash for us every week. So we are essentially paying unhoused residents to clean up the surrounding areas and other parts of our city. We give them bags, they fill them up, and we pay them by the bag. The way we're paying them is actually a cool little partnership we have with MasterCard. They get charge cards that they can use, and they spend at local food stores and other stores, but they can't be used, for example, at liquor stores or dispensaries, for example. So we clearly target the resources in ways that we think will ultimately be helpful. We've got about 300 unhoused residents now participating in that program. It's going to continue to scale about 500 this year. We hope this will help sustain some of those residents and provide them with access to food and other critical needs while we're cleaning up our city together. We will be expanding our Beautify SJ initiatives as we are all coming out again from the latest wave of the pandemic and getting out in the streets with our neighbors. So look out for lots of information. I'll be coming, I'm sure, through your council office and from us about how you can participate in helping to beautify your corner of the city. We need your help because, of course, it's a big city and we're all challenged to get this done. I will also just add, as a result of budgetary actions that we all took together in the council, we are now routinely cleaning 200 encampment areas throughout the city because we know that have been sources of challenge for us. And they're often being cleaned in partnership with formerly unhoused residents who are now working. So we're going to keep expanding those efforts to extend our resources allow. So thank you very much, Councilor Davis. I'm happy to answer any questions folks might have.
If people want to raise their hands to ask the mayor a question. Got one, got two. All right. Mark Woodward.
Hi, Mark.
Let's see if we can get,
We
should be able to.
Hey, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yep.
Hi, Mark.
You're good.
Hey, Dev, haven't seen you in a while. Great to see you. Thanks for holding this meeting. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Mayor Liccardo, great to talk to you. First, Dev, great kudos for all the work you guys have done on the repaving. Sorely needed. It's great how rapidly they've accomplished it as well, and it certainly is helpful and appreciated. Mayor, the only question I have is you brought up a lot of things around blight. Probably my single biggest issue. I'm a 35-year, almost 40-year San Jose resident. I've never seen anything like this.
Yeah.
Certain areas like around Meridian and 280, Deb, I'm sure you're familiar with that. It is just
Very much so.
Yeah, it's awful.
Every time I drive past it, I get queasy in my stomach. And I guess my big question is, I mean, it's great to hear there's all these efforts, but I've been hearing a lot of stuff about it's Caltrans problem, it's Caltrans problem. That just, it's getting old. I mean,
Yeah.
and right, I mean, it's like, we've had a homeless problem here forever, but we've never had this blight problem. So what changed? Like, and
Yeah.
right? That's my biggest question.
Yeah, great question. And look, I hope what you're hearing from us is not simply finger pointing. That's certainly not my intention. I know it's not Councilmember Davis's either. The challenge is we literally are precluded from going down to the freeways and cleaning them ourselves. So we actually need Caltrans to do it because they're the only ones authorized to do it. What has changed? You know, clearly the pandemic hasn't helped. For some period of time, decision was made to take cleanup crews, particularly around the illegal dumping, offline during the pandemic, when it was very uncertain as to what risk we were subjecting employees in different kinds of work. And as we're bringing people back online, it became very obvious quickly that we had a lot of catching up to do. And it's not clear to me that we've really caught up completely from that deficit. I do know that there's more illegal dumping than ever. And so it's not just unhoused residents. It's lots of contractors, for example, that don't want to pay fees at a city dump. And we need to find solutions for that. And yes, it's unhoused residents, but I think that's to be expected. If any of us were out on the street, we'd all be producing trash out there too. And I think it's the fact that also as a result of the pandemic, because of public health requirements, unlike in the past where we have been essentially moving people from very visible locations where they've been encamped, more than ever, those encampments are staying in very visible public spaces. Or had been staying for a long period of time, where then the trash is obviously much more visible that they're producing. So that is changing. Certainly, we are increasingly recognizing there areas we simply have got to move people from because it's not safe for them to be near schools, for example, or near roadways where we know there's more risk. So all I can say is we're going to hustle harder, and I know we've dedicated a lot of resources to this last budget cycle that I think hopefully you're going to start to see the impacts of out on the streets this spring as more folks are out. I don't think I have any. Dev, you want to offer any insights?
I think you covered it, Mayor. It is very frustrating, and the fact that we can't go, and we've offered to go clean up, and Caltrans tells us that we can't do it without CHP closing the freeways, and they won't do it for us. They only do it for them.
Takes an edict of the Pope. Yeah.
It seems to, yeah. It's very concerning. So I've been working with Evan Lowe, our assembly member in the area for the Meridian 280 issue, to try to get that moving. So yeah, that's a tough one. All right, let me call in the next person, Sharon Beauregard. And I do want to be mindful of your time, Mayor.
Yeah.
So if you need to go after
I'm
this.
sorry, I'm actually going to text somebody who's expecting a call. I'm just going to tell them I'm going to call them in 5 minutes.
Okay,
Forgive
okay.
me.
Hopefully you can take this
Yeah.
question from Sharon, and then we'll.
Yeah. Hi, Sharon.
Hi, Mayor Liccardo. I had a question about folks that are going to be moved into the 2 hotels on the Alameda. Right now, it's kind of a hangout spot. So what plans are there for services for these folks so they don't just hang out? Right now, you can't really go into the CVS without kind of feeling uncomfortable, and because it's kind of turned into a hangout down there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Mayor, I can take that one if you.
Go
don't know
ahead.
specifics
Yeah, I'm
about
happy to
that
jump
site.
in after. Go ahead.
Okay, yeah. So right now, there's only one hotel on the Alameda that has an application in for the city to purchase it, and that's the Arena Hotel. You're right that it has become a hangout. There are no services there right now. That's exactly the opposite of what will happen if and when the city is able to purchase it. We've already secured a provider. They're called Home First, and they have a whole list of services that they provide. So it's not just, you know, meals and laundry kinds of facilities that are going to be there and available for folks, but they do comprehensive case management with every person who lives there. And so that's to get them really reintegrated back into society, so they're not hanging out and not being productive on a daily basis. It's really to get them if they need mental health services, if they need other kinds of drug and alcohol addiction services, it's really to get them the medical services that they may need. It's very hard to live out on the streets. It's bad for your body. So getting them all stabilized and reintegrated back in society is kind of the crux of what happens there.
Okay, so as they move in, they'll be getting these services?
Yes.
Okay.
Everybody gets
great.
a case manager. Yep.
Fantastic, thank you.
You're
Yeah, and
welcome.
Councilmember Davis answered far better than I could. I would just add, we also would love to see those who are work able to be getting jobs. So we'll certainly do all we can to provide job supports.
Definitely. Thank you, Mayor.
Councilmember Davis, can I
Yes.
just mention one thing about the Alameda Business Association is also working with the hotel guests, and they will be working on a work kind of a work training program with them.
Excellent.
Fantastic.
All right, Mayor, I totally understand if you need to go.
Okay. Hey, thank you very much, Councilmember. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you, Mayor.
All right. Have a great night.
You too. All right, next up, we have our new city manager, Jennifer Maguire. Welcome, Jennifer.
Okay, unmuted. Thank you so much. And a big thank you to you, Dev, for hosting this State of the District, and a big thank you to all of your residents that are attending tonight. Again, my name is Jennifer Maguire, and I'm very proud to hold the position of city manager for our great city. During my brief presentation, I'm going to tell you a little bit more about me and my role as city manager, discuss how our city government is organized, and provide information on the mayor and city council's priorities and my focus areas as your city manager that we are currently working on. So since I am new to this role, I thought it would be good for the community in Willow Glen and District 6 to get to know me a little bit more. So I will tell you a little about my background and my experiences that have led me to this current position that I'm holding. First of all, I want you to know that I am very personally vested in the San Jose community, and I have a strong commitment to my work as my family, which is my husband and my 3 children, and I have lived in San Jose for over 23 years, and I'm a local. I grew up in Cupertino, with San Jose being my next door neighbor, and spent lots of my childhood in many of San Jose neighborhoods. I also stayed local for my college education and attended Santa Clara University, where I earned 2 degrees, a Bachelor of Science in Psychology, and later a master's in business administration. I currently live on the west side, not far from here. Over the years, I've spent a good amount of time in beautiful Willow Glen and continue to do so. I come to the local high schools for water polo matches for my kids. I eat and shop on Lincoln Avenue, and I visit friends, just to name a few of my activities. Also recently, Councilmember Davis took me on a several-hour tour of District 6 and showed me the district from her vantage point, which was really helpful as an introduction into my new role. So I appreciate that again, Councilmember Davis, and I really enjoyed looking at the district with a different lens. 2021 marked my 30th year as a City of San Jose employee, and I look forward to many more. I did become the city manager last August, so I've been in the position now about 6 months, and I'm very honored to lead the nation's 10th largest city. But before becoming city manager, I held a variety of progressively responsible roles over my 30 years, from budget analyst to budget director to deputy city manager, to my most recent role as assistant city manager, which I held for the past 4 years. These positions, especially the ones I held in the city manager's budget office, have provided me with a deep understanding of city operations, but I want you to know that I'm still learning. You can never know it all in San Jose. We are a very complex organization, and I'm learning every day, and I love it. I do sincerely believe in and actively help achieve our city's mission, which is to provide quality public services, facilities, and opportunities that create, sustain, and enhance a safe, livable, and vibrant community for our diverse residents, businesses, and visitors. I also want you to know that I truly feel blessed to be a public servant, given I know we collectively can make a positive difference in someone's life every day. I understand that the public is counting on us to do right by our community, even if we do not hear from them. I take that to heart very, very seriously. So now you know a little bit about me. I'm going to go into briefly to discuss the city manager position. So we can switch slides. I don't know what the slides are not moving. So,
I think, Rosalind, if you click on slideshow mode, that might help you.
let's get the, I definitely want you to see the slides. It'll help.
Isabel, feel free to unmute if you need to give her direction.
Thanks for everybody's patience for a second. I think it's going to be helpful to see the slides if we can make that work.
Sometimes it helps to stop sharing and then put it in slideshow mode and then start sharing. So
Okay.
that might be the way to go. And you're still at the office too, Jennifer.
I am. I live here.
Hopefully not as late as when you were budget director.
Yeah. Well, the first several months is rivaled that because I get myself organized in this new position, but no, probably not quite as much as budget director. That was very hard. Hey, Rosalind.
So my apologies. I'm going to try one more time.
Okay. Thanks, Rosalind. That's Rosalind Huey, our deputy city manager, who is helping with the slideshow. Okay, well, we're at the end. We can not quite ready to say thank you yet because I have more to share. We'll get there. Wait.
Jennifer, maybe you can talk about the role while.
Yeah, let me move on while she's trying to work on that. So, okay, so to better understand my position, oh, here we go. I think she had it there. To better understand my position, I do think it's important to note the type of government we have here in San Jose. San Jose is a full service city and operates under a hybrid council manager form of government. So a council manager form of government combines the strong political leadership of elected officials with the strong professional experience of an appointed local government manager or administrator. Under this form, power is concentrated in the elected council, which hires a professional administrator to implement its policies. So in other words, I was hired by and report to the mayor and all 10 city council members. My position as city manager can also be called the chief administrative officer for the city. I have overall responsibility for the day-to-day oversight and management of all city operations and delivery of services to the community through 8 offices contained within the city manager's office and 14 city departments. City operations are supported by over 6,600 full-time equivalent positions and a total budget of $5.1 billion for the 21-22 fiscal year. I'm also responsible for executing all policies and programs as directed by the City Council and for making recommendations to further the city goals and objectives. In addition, the city manager position also serves to guide fiscal and change management, build and develop our workforce, and develop and implement long-term data-driven strategies to invest in the city's future. So let's look at a very high-level organization chart. We can move. That will be difficult if they can't see that. Hopefully we can move to the next slide. We're having technical difficulties. See if she can move because I'm relying on my pictures too to make this go figure. Here we go. You can see that at the top are the residents. That's you and me and all of us. We're at the top of the chart. As you know, as residents, we vote for our 10 city council members who are elected by district and our mayor who is elected at large to represent us. The city does actively engage with the community through city council appointed boards and commissions, as well as project specific engagement opportunities. So my position is one of 6 council appointees. A lot of people don't realize that, but you can see the other appointees on this chart. Again, my position, along with the help of a small but mighty executive team, provides strategic leadership that supports the policy-making role of the mayor and city council and motivates and challenges the organization to deliver high-quality services that meet the community's needs. So let's take a deeper look at the city manager's office and city departments. Next slide. We have 8 separate offices within the city manager's office that perform distinct overarching services for our organization. You can see those offices on this slide. You can also see on the slide the many city departments grouped by functional area. They're also a huge part of my responsibility. So we've got our community service departments, our public safety departments, our capital maintenance departments, and our general government departments. So a lot of different lines of business that we're in the city of San Jose. Now let's move into the city's enterprise priorities. So let's go to the next slide. This is what we as an organization are focused on right now. A city manager's job was once seen as solving an assortment of problems that appeared to be definable, understandable, and consensual. The traditional organizational structure I just outlined focuses on the many essential services delivered by our departments that are performed on a day-to-day basis as efficiently as we can, but of course with not nearly enough resources that we would all like to see in our service delivery system. With basic services generally addressed, residents are now asking our government to turn our attention to more difficult problems, really wicked challenges. So traditional approaches, frameworks, measurements aren't usually sufficient for these big challenges, especially ones that affect lives and livelihoods. And sometimes existing strategies and structures do not align to address these problems that span across the city organization and other governmental and nonprofit agencies. Our mayor and city council, including Councilmember Dev Davis, as do I, believe that government and public managers need more focus on these challenges and that they should be on the forefront of our agenda as they present the biggest opportunities for cities to address. Our approach has been the creation of these 8 city enterprise priorities that you can see on the slide, which are the primary focus of our organization. You can learn more about them if you go to the city's website under the city manager page. Let's move on to the city roadmap. The next slide. So together with our city council, the city administration took the city's enterprise priorities and identified and then prioritized the project strategies and policy work across the entire organization into the city roadmap that you can see on this slide. I know it's hard to read, but there's lots of projects on there rolling to those enterprise priorities. This 2-day session with the council did not address our foundational or day-to-day core service work, but rather the larger change initiatives and challenging problems facing our city. This roadmap was adopted last spring to focus our work for the 21-22 fiscal year, which began last July. Now, we've recently developed regular reporting metrics on these projects and are providing quarterly performance reports on our qualitative objectives and key results by each of our enterprise priorities. And if you're interested in our progress, the next city roadmap report will be presented to the city council in March. It's not, I think it's going to be we're looking at March 8th, but it could move. If you can look at the agenda if you're interested in reading that report. We will next be developing outcome measures for our city enterprise priorities with the goal of publishing a public dashboard to measure our performance and success. Over the next few months, the city council and administration will be aligning and updating the city roadmap with our forthcoming priorities and budget for the 22-23 fiscal year. Now, in addition to these enterprise priorities and city roadmap work, when I was interviewing for the city manager position, we can move to the next slide, I developed and discussed 5 focus areas I felt were very important and much needed for our organization to better meet the needs of our community and service delivery system. You can see the 5 items here. My first focus area is to establish a customer service vision and standards for our organization. Our customers are our residents, businesses, visitors, and our staff within and outside all of our city departments and offices. We will create and implement a customer service vision and standards for the person-to-person customer experience. I mean, in person, by email, or by phone, with the goal to improve response times, empathy, resolution, and efficiency. And in many areas, we do a very good job on this, but we are uneven in some areas. So we want to get that vision and have all of our employees trained and have consistent standards across this organization. Second, I want to ensure a deep organizational commitment to racial equity by embedding equity considerations into our daily work so that race no longer predicts life outcomes and outcomes for all are improved. Our policy, budget, and service delivery evaluations and decisions will proactively ask who is burdened and who will benefit and will not be an afterthought. My third focus area is completing our police reforms work plan, including the reimagining community safety work that is currently underway. I was the executive sponsor for this work as assistant city manager. And as a very strong supporter of our police department, I look forward to seeing the outcome of these efforts as they are combined with the department's own continuous improvement work. And they've always been in continuous improvement work mode for my entire 30 years. So I appreciate that very, very much. Fourth, we need to bring the city's general fund back into structural balance and increase the use of performance metrics and data to drive our decision-making. Due to chronic budget challenges and an influx of one-time funding for our COVID-19 response and recovery efforts, we have recently used a significant amount of one-time funds to balance our current year budget and to add the much-needed services for our community during the pandemic. We need to include in our ongoing budget those services that our community needs most while ensuring minimal impacts to the community for those items we can no longer afford to fund. We must also strengthen and implement regular reporting of performance metrics and increase the use of data to drive decision-making for our service delivery system. And finally, for the fifth focus area, I'm calling it increase employee engagement, modernize the workforce, and build the bench. Make San Jose a cool place to work. With that focus area, we will improve employee creativity and innovation, ensure job modernization and growth opportunities, improve job satisfaction, and ensure accountability. There is no job better than being a public servant, at least in my mind and many, many others, and we want our current and future employees to know that. With that, I will wrap it up with a thank you for my portion. I really appreciate District 6 for especially being an active, engaged community. And I want you all to know that I'm very, very open to and appreciate creative and out of the box thinking and solutions for our service delivery system and how we achieve the mayor and city council priorities in my 5 focus areas. So feel free to contact me if you have ideas. You can find my email. You can find my email through the city's website. And thank you very much again.
Thank you, Jennifer. I really appreciate you coming to this event this evening. And we will move on to, and I know you're sticking around for the Q&A, so I appreciate that too. And I think that our Deputy City Manager, Rosalind Huey, will also be here for the Q&A. We will move on to Assistant Police Chief Paul Joseph. You're up next, Paul.
Great. Thank you, Councilmember Davis. Hi, I'm Paul Joseph. I'm the Assistant Chief of Police here in San Jose. I've been in this assignment for just about a year, along with Chief Anthony Mata. Prior to that, I was the Western Division Patrol Captain, and in that role, I got to meet and work with Councilmember Davis. So I'm real familiar with the area in which you folks all live. I've been a San Jose police officer for a little over 27 years. I started my career with the San Mateo Police Department, but I realized this was the best police department around, and I've never regretted my decision. The council member asked me to talk about several things that she thought everybody would be interested in. One of those was the issue of sideshows, and sideshows or street racing became a really hot topic in 2020. We'd always had it periodically. Other cities in the Bay Area and around the country have had it worse than we have, but it really became an issue. And I think that a lot of the increases in crime that we saw starting in 2020 were attributed to the COVID pandemic. And I'm not sure I necessarily agree with that, but I think this is kind of one area where I think the COVID pandemic did play a role. I mean, there really wasn't much for these young folks to do. And they've got a lot of energy, as we all remember. And so they decided to take it out in this way. So one of the first things that the city of San Jose did was enact the spectator ordinance, which allowed us to cite not just people violating the vehicle code through their own driving, but people that would attend sideshows could be cited simply for being there. But an even more impactful piece of legislation that Councilmember Davis and her colleagues got passed was the promoter ordinance. And what that allowed us to do is go after people who were encouraging others to come to San Jose and engage in sideshows. What we found was most of these folks were coordinating their efforts through social media, and very often it was one person that was encouraging all of this behavior. So we did take some enforcement action using the promoter ordinance, and it has really cut into the amount of sideshows that we've seen here in San Jose. So Councilmember Davis, I thank you and your colleagues for that. Often I hear, and rightfully so, a lot of frustration from the public as to why we can't do more, why sometimes it takes us a long time to show up. And I'll just say this, it does sometimes take us a long time to show up because oftentimes these events happen on the weekends, and unfortunately there are other things that are happening throughout the city, and there's only so many police officers to go around, and we can't just send one car or two cars to take on a group of 150 to 200 people. We've encountered these groups as pretty aggressive towards us. They're not terribly intimidated by us. They've rammed our patrol cars. They've thrown rocks and bottles at us. They've fired off rounds when we've shown up. So we try to make sure that we have enough officers to get there and actually address the problem. So I understand the frustration. I sympathize with it. But again, I think we've done a lot here in San Jose to provide the police department with some useful tools, and it really has made an impact, and hopefully folks are seeing that. Another issue that the council member asked me to talk about was car break-ins. I wish I could say we were as successful in deterring those. I will say that initially car break-ins went down some in 2020, and that was part of what we saw at the start of the pandemic. Obviously, all businesses shut down. All the malls were closed. The kind of large parking areas where the auto burglars would go to find things to break into, cars to break into, and things to steal were just not available to them. But as life has gotten somewhat back to normal, we're starting to see a resumption of the car break-ins. It's very hard for us to be on each and every small street overnight, and I realize that some of you folks have been victimized by this. We do our best. We'll take reports online if all you're looking for is to just simply be able to make an insurance claim, but we can also send either an officer or a community service officer out to dust for fingerprints. And we have absolutely made cases from fingerprints that we've looked at on car burglaries. But again, I would certainly understand some frustration if you feel that car break-ins are still a problem, because they are. This is the third question is a little more thorny, and there's probably other people on this call that are more qualified than I, or more it's more germane to what they're doing. But how do we deal with the homeless and things having to do with mental health? Homelessness is a multifaceted problem, obviously, and it's a police problem to the extent that homeless people are breaking the law, if they're breaking the law, but obviously simply being homeless isn't against the law. So there is a process in place. I know folks get frustrated when they see these large camps and they wonder why we can't just go and move everybody out. But there's a very structured process, and it's all dictated by some court cases and some other laws that we have to go through, and it's in coordination and driven primarily by the housing department. And it involves offering services and shelter to the folks in these camps before any enforcement action is taken. When it comes to the mental health calls, and I think there are, in the 29 and a half years that I've been a police officer, the job really hasn't changed all that much. But one thing that I would say has changed dramatically is how many calls we respond to that relate to mental health. And I'm not exactly sure why that is, but we get a lot of them. We get a lot more than we ever did before. And so one of the things that we've done to try to address this is we started our MCAT program, and that stands for the Mobile Crisis Assessment Team. And this is a team of officers that works with clinicians from the county behavioral health services to respond to mental health related calls for service, try to connect people with services, try to reduce our incidents of arresting people who maybe are acting out and technically doing something against the law, but it's really more driven by their mental health condition than it is by a sort of a criminal intent, if you will. We've been very successful with that program. It's funded through a federal grant, partly through officers that we've assigned to that unit on overtime. So we would very much like to expand it. We're also adding to the current MCAT program with what we're going to call the PERT program, where clinicians will actually ride in the car with San Jose police officers. So it's something of the same idea, but it's a really exciting program. It's one thing I would say is that the MCAT team has gone on, I think, since their inception, over 1,000 calls for service, and they've never used force on anyone a single time. So that's something that obviously was a goal of the program, to try to reduce our use of force on the mentally ill, and we've been extremely successful in that area. Response time to calls. Our response time is not always what we would like it to be, probably not always what you folks would like it to be. It's not quite as bad as you might think. I pulled up some statistics. So we have a goal of arriving at a priority 1 call for service within 6 minutes. A priority 1 call is the highest priority call we have. Obviously, it's anything where there's imminent danger to life, an in progress serious crime, something of that nature. Our goal is to get there within 6 minutes. We're getting there in about 6.5 to 7.5 minutes over the last month. But I guess what we've committed to doing is making sure that we can do that about 60% of the time, and we're doing that about 54% of the time. So I know that's kind of stats driven, it's kind of dry, but the reality is, again, there are only so many police officers, and I know that I guess folks get tired of hearing that, but I wish there were more. I wish we could get everywhere all the time. Some of the things that we do to try to improve our response time to especially the priority calls for service, is something that we introduced some years back called priority dispatching. All San Jose patrol cars are outfitted with GPS. So when there's a priority call for service, the dispatchers can dispatch whichever 2 closest units are available, regardless of where in the city they're assigned. So when we have priority calls, we're getting units there. It's just, it may be that somebody's coming from quite some distance away, but we're getting the closest units as fast as we possibly can to those calls. The priority 2 calls, which is kind of the next level down, and that could be, something like a vehicle collision, or, still a serious event, just not quite at the priority 1 level. I have to be honest, those we're not doing quite as well. Our goal is to be there in about 11 minutes, and we're up in the 25, 26 minute range on those. And again, you've probably heard this before, we are the most thinly staffed police department in any large city in the country. One of the main goals that Chief Mata and I have for our time here at the department is to try to grow this department along with this growing city. I've said it before, when I started here, when I came here from the San Mateo Police Department in 1994, we had about 750,000 people in the city, and we had 200 more police officers than we do today. So, obviously it's hard for us to deliver services at the rate that we would like, but I know that we do have a very supportive city council and city manager's office here in San Jose. That's something that we're incredibly grateful for, and I know that they're doing everything they can to try to help us and all the other city departments grow as well with this rapidly growing city. Finally, Councilmember Davis tossed me a softball, and she said, are there any achievements of the police department that you would like to share? Well, sure, I would absolutely like to talk about some of our achievements. You may have seen some of this in the newspaper recently. One of the more recent stories that was written was about a prolific burglar who was sometimes even driving a vehicle through the front of a store and cutting open the ATMs and stealing cash. One of our burglary detectives from the San Jose Police Department led an investigation that spanned numerous jurisdictions in the county, and we recently took that person into custody. That was I would call that a very good achievement by us. Also, our burglary prevention unit, which is separate from our standard burglary detectives. This is a group of investigators that's more proactive. recently took down a large catalytic converter theft ring, recovered lots and lots of catalytic converters. Also, in addition to going after the people that were actually stealing the converters, we went after some of the businesses that were illegally purchasing them. You may know that catalytic converters contain precious metals, which are extremely valuable, and recyclers pay great money for them, which is why, unfortunately, this has become such an issue for us. But that was a great case by our burglary prevention unit. And then I'd just like to mention that just a couple nights ago, our VSET unit, which is our gang enforcement street team, made a car stop in South San Jose and had a subject run from the vehicle. They got in a foot chase with that person and were able to take him into custody. And it turned out to be, this is hard to believe, but it was a 13-year-old boy with a loaded ghost gun in his waistband. And that young man turned out to be wanted by the Morgan Hill police for a shooting over the weekend in their city. So we're out there. We're doing everything we can to keep our residents safe, to keep everyone, to keep this city safe, to keep this big city as safe as it is. I think with the amount of officers that we're able to deploy every night, we do a pretty amazing job of that. And obviously there's always room for improvement, and we're always looking to be better. And as the city manager mentioned, there's many different police reform matters that are being considered by different outside consultants and working groups and whatnot. And all of those recommendations are going to be examined by the police department and employed, or we'll have a reason why we can't, or we have other feelings about it. But lots of work for us. I became the assistant chief at a pretty dynamic and interesting time for American policing. But Chief Mata and I are excited about that and up to the challenge. So.
Thank you so much, Chief. And just on the point, I just want to make sure folks know we at the City Council want more police officers as well. And the issue is that 4 or 5 police officers cost another $1 million a year. So for each 4 to 5 police officers, we have to find another $1 million in the budget, and that's the difficult part, because our revenue does not grow to that size every year. So we're just trying to keep up, but that is, at least for me, the number one. And you already know this, Chief, but because we've had so many traffic fatalities last year and it is not a good situation this year, I will definitely be asking again for additional traffic enforcement officers when budget time comes around, which is very soon. I was turned down last year, as you know, but I'm going to try again, because I know that's a really important part of the department that we need to rebuild, and I feel very strongly about that. And I know you and the chief do as well. So
yes, indeed. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you for joining us, and I hope you're going to stay around for the Q&A. We've just got one more presentation. Andrea Flores Shelton. She is our Deputy Director for Community Services Division of Parks, Recreation, and Neighborhood Services. And you're going to tell us about Beautify SJ.
I am, sorry, pressing lots of buttons, but can you hear me and can you see my slides?
Yes.
Okay,
the slideshow is not showing. It's just the slides with the preview, just so you know.
Slide with the preview. Okay, let's see.
I don't know I don't know if there's a problem with that this evening, but.
Now, do you see the slide fully?
No.
Okay.
Now we do.
Okay, great. I think there's a little delay. Wonderful. So I know we're short on time. So Councilmember, if you could give me a little high sign, if you want me to speed up or anything, please let me know. Thank you for having us. I'm Andrea Flores Shelton, and I want to just, everyone else has kind of prefaced. I've been with the city of San Jose 4 years. I joined Parks and Rec, and I oversaw the community centers. Then I was assigned in the pandemic to oversee our food and necessities distribution to ensure food security during the pandemic. Then I was the Community Economic Recovery Director. And in the last 6 months, I've had the privilege of being the deputy of a new division in Parks and Rec that's really focused on really this challenge of blight and our neighborhood blight reduction, right? So blight, encampment management, and neighborhood blight reduction. I also want to say Olympia Williams is with me. I am proud that she was promoted to be the Beautify Division Manager, so we will be here for Q&A. So let me just set the stage. I know there's been a lot of questions and interest. And Beautify SJ is an initiative that was started by Mayor Liccardo. And I just want to show what it encompasses. And while it is, and what I'll be speaking about tonight is really focused on encampment management, our trash service that we are deploying to over 200 homeless encampments, as well as our illegal dumping response. But you'll see that there's a whole host of things that are part of our core services within the city, as well as other programs within Parks and Rec that are about really achieving a clean city that we can all be proud of. And I think you'll know that as if you're a house resident, you know, you rely on that weekly trash service. And what we have done is pretty miraculous, is we have now stood up a trash service for the unhoused. So that happened during the pandemic, and now that is now a part of really what we would call one of PRNS's core services, and that's our encampment trash program. So what we are doing is trying to align this services with the city manager's focus areas, being more customer service focused. What happens right now is there's just a slew of emails about this homeless encampment and this area of blight. And if you're familiar with, you know, My 311, you know, you can take a picture and report, you know, that couch that's on that corner, and you know that you can receive a response. We're trying to do that also with homeless encampments. If you're seeing that it is spilling out and it is creating an unclean area in a neighborhood, we want to make sure that you can efficiently and quickly report that. So these are some of the things that we're working on to really create a system that is, again, efficient and responsive to all of our residents. My dog is scratching at the door. I'm sorry if you can hear that. The other thing I really want to point out, and this is something I know Councilmember Davis has been focused on with whether it's Caltrans, we know that if you see junk on the side of the road, or if you see junk near a creek, you know, you see it within San Jose. What, you know, you don't see that that's Valley Water's jurisdiction or that's Caltrans jurisdiction. So Beautify is spending a significant amount of time building those partnerships, relationships, and then really hoping to create strong contracts, right? So that we can work with those partners to make sure that anywhere within the city of San Jose, again, whether it's city property or another jurisdiction's property, that we have a means to clean that up. And so we are working on that. We're working on that with Valley Water. Again, Olympia did a great job with getting a contract with Union Pacific along our railroads. And then we do have a great relationship with Caltrans, and thank you, Councilmember, for seeking to strengthen that. I just wanted to point out that obviously, you know, everyone's spoken about our homelessness problem. And I wanted to make sure that folks knew that what we're doing with encampment management is really related to strategy 3, that we want to improve the quality of life for our unsheltered residents and recognize that our house residents deserve a healthy neighborhood as well. So this is really trying to, again, lift up everyone that lives in San Jose. And I wanted to, I saw that there was a comment or question about dealing with the root causes, and there's a strategy for that as well, right? The encampment management strategy is about sort of the deeper end of the system, but I want, well, we won't be talking about the root cause piece. The housing department kind of owns that in conjunction with the county, but we do have a holistic approach to dealing with the housing crisis and the homelessness response. So right now we have 4 key objectives: cleaning the city's public spaces, creating setbacks for priority locations, and identifying sites that promote safety and belonging. And the 4th, connecting people to social services and meet their basic needs. I will talk briefly about each of these, but this is, again, really trying to encompass how we're going to be moving forward, solidifying this as a system and service in the city of San Jose. So as you know, the mayor already hit it, so I'm not going to spend too much time on this, but there's a lot of different programs within Beautify. Cash for Trash is for our unhoused community. We have the encampment trash program that really, again, was set up during the pandemic and is now we're working towards picking up trash every other week from our 240 encampment locations. But we are very grateful to the council that they have in the last budget cycle in June, as well as in November's American Rescue Plan budget add, we now have an additional $14 million that we're putting towards really expanding the Beautify team from what was once 16 full-time positions to 65. So again, there is a major focus on this in the city to expand this program to provide a cleaner city in our public spaces. So some of those FTEs are going to be, once those are filled, and we're working really hard to fill those positions, you are going to be looking at an increase of bi-weekly to weekly garbage pickup at those 200 plus encampment sites. And hopefully you will be seeing that difference again in the spring and summer. We also look at our performance, right? If we need to get to all of those sites 75% of the time, that's the target for us. And we are on track for that. We want to make sure that the perception of cleanliness in the community is felt, and we track that right now through our on-time system. Are we getting there again every other week? And then again, we will track towards weekly garbage pickup. In terms of illegal dumping, we are updating this slide. This is on a quarterly basis. You'll see that starting in January of last year, we collected from service requests again. So this was whether it was 311 or through our email, a resident told us, please pick up illegal dumping. So these are the pounds collected. It dropped off a little bit in October to December because of the weather. And then in the last column, you'll see that's only 2 months worth of illegal dumping being picked up. So we're pretty much on track to pick up a similar amount to what we did last year. But what we have found, and what again, council did provide us with, is an additional strike team. We want to get at illegal dumping proactively, not just ones that are reported, because if illegal dumping sits there unreported, it will just attract more illegal dumping. So again, we are in the throes of hiring, and we are expecting an additional strike team to hit the streets in the coming months. So moving on to creating setbacks, this is really about where can encampments be, not be allowed in our city. So again, during the pandemic, there was a pause on the removal, or what we call the abatement, of homeless encampments for health reasons. We needed to, the county and CDC suggested that everyone stay put for contact tracing and for not obviously having folks move around and potentially be contagious. So then as we came out of the pandemic, council gave us direction to focus on removing encampments in public right-of-ways. That's your sidewalks, that's the medians. Obviously, we can't have people living in the middle of the street. And then we also got direction in June to create a 150-foot buffer zone around schools. So that's our current focus area. We obviously remove encampments if there's an emergency, if construction needs to happen, if there's any real health and safety dangers. We are in the middle of studying further setback areas, and we are coming back to council in April with some recommendations that, are short term, what can we do with the current resources that we've been given, and potentially longer term as it relates to some of our most intractable places like our waterways. That is where we have a significant amount of our unhoused community, and we are in the middle of assessing that, and really what can we do to ensure that our waterways are clear, our water is clean, and that we are really meeting the guidelines of the state regulators. So we will be coming back to council with more information on that. Quickly, another objective. This is really about where can the unhoused community live? We're working very diligently to identify safe RV parking sites, and as well as you've heard the mayor and Councilmember Davis talk about hotels, motels, and other places, but also in our neighborhoods, where are we going to allow our unhoused to live? So we're working on that. I'm going to just quickly shift over to one of the biggest challenges, whether you have flown in and out of SJC or if you drive up or down Taylor near 87. And this is also an area that was in District 3 as of 2 weeks ago, and it is now in District 6. So quickly, I just wanted to tell you the update on the Guadalupe Gardens. This is a very, very large homeless encampment that we are now clearing. We have cleared stage 1 and 2 of both debris, and we had to remove the people. And we cleared over 1 million pounds of debris from this area. We're currently in the middle of planning stage 3. And so this is sort of our challenge, and we'll be reporting back to council in April on whether or not we are able to house the remaining people, how many people we can house, and what is our plan for ensuring that once we do clear this area, we are working towards removing the debris now, ensuring that people can get their cars out of there, and what can we do to ensure people don't re-encamp? So there's been a lot of work at Guadalupe Gardens. I won't go into all the detail, but we are in the middle of trying to figure out, what are the next steps. Long term, we are planning a park there. This is land that was purchased by the Federal Aviation Administration funds to the airport, and there can be no residential uses out here. So we're looking at what type of park amenities align with both FAA guidelines and are of interest to our community. We've had a couple community meetings. There should be another community meeting shortly, probably in the coming months, on sort of what the next steps are for putting in probably one of the largest dog parks in the city, as well as other amenities. So I went through a lot very quickly. I just want to say that, again, we have, probably, I don't know, Olympia, if you want to put our email in the chat so that people can reach out to us if they have other specific questions. But I'll leave it at that. And thank you again, Councilmember Davis, for the opportunity tonight.
Thank you, Andrea. I very much appreciate your update. And I know that folks you've done a lot of different roles in the city, but Beautify SJ has also taken on a lot of new roles over the last year. So it's very helpful for people to find out about that. So we will be moving to the Q&A portion. It is about 7:30 now, but I have a few hands up and I know there's a Q&A in the box. I'm hoping that folks can stay on for another 15 or 20 minutes so that we can do some Q&A. I've got some hands raised, and if staff, if you're not answering one of the questions that that's coming up, then I'm hoping you'll look in the Q&A box and see if there's something that you want to answer live, or if you want to do them just in the Q&A. But for right now, I'll start with the people who have their hands raised. And the first person I see is Joe Rhett.
Hi there. I hear these charming, sad that you don't reach good neighborhoods, I assume, in 21 minutes, and sad that you have, are arranging garbage services for the homeless. But I live in a neighborhood where the police won't show at all for hours or days, that we've given them video evidence of contractor trucks with the name and phone number on the side of the truck and the license plate, and they won't do anything about the dumping. We are a neighborhood you don't care about, and Dev doesn't care about. Dev will devil jump to make sure that somebody leaves a trash bag in a good white neighborhood gets a $300 fine, but it happens every day here. Police enforcement is so slack that we've had, you talk about you've done a lot to clean up sideshows. Really? We have 2 or 3 a day in my neighborhood. So again, you're just telling us you don't care about our neighborhood. And I realize that Deb's goal in life is to make sure the developers, use eminent domain to take away our houses. So for her development projects, because that is who she cares about. But
So do you have a question for one of the staff members?
What can we do to get for you to start caring about our neighborhood and response time in our neighborhood and stop pretending it doesn't exist within your boundaries? Because I can tell you.
What neighborhood do you live in?
I live right by Meridian and West San Carlos.
Okay.
In that neighborhood, I've had $150,000 damage done to my property. Your office won't even investigate it, even with video evidence.
Paul, do you want to answer that question? Thank you for your question. We'll let the assistant chief take your question, because as far as I know, we respond to everything equally. Paul, would you like to address that?
Sure. Well, we definitely respond to the area of Meridian and San Carlos. That's within our jurisdiction, and it's a pretty busy area for us. It's hard for me to respond to something that I don't have specifics for. So I guess what I would say, sir, is that why don't you email me if you have any case numbers of reports that you have made. If you can email that to me, and I'm going to put my email address in the chat room. I will look into it and find out what the status is of those cases. I mean, and again, we're always doing our best. I don't know. I wasn't aware that there were 2 to 3 sideshows a day at Meridian and San Carlos, but if there are, maybe someone's not calling those in. But I assure you, we will do our best to respond to any calls to service in that neighborhood.
Thank you.
Councilmember, we're going to suggest that we limit time for each member to 1 minute, and Isabel's going to have a timer up on the screen.
Okay, thank you. The next speaker is Diane Farley. Hi, Diane. Can we wait till that person unmutes before we start the timer? Diane?
Can you hear me?
Yes, now we can hear you.
Thank you. I understand there was a contest in San Jose. This question is for Andrea. A contest in San Jose to develop some sort of a sculpture that would be important to San Jose. What's happened with that project?
This is the light tower.
Great question. I think that's what she means.
Okay.
The Urban Confluence Project.
Yes.
There you go. I will need to get back to you, Diane, as I am not familiar with that project. I will, if I can get your information, we will get back to you on that.
I can jump in a little bit. So the Urban Confluence Project, it's a private group of individuals that want to raise money to build something cool for San Jose. And I think they've chosen their design and that they're currently raising money for it. And when they have it ready to go, we have designated a place in Arena Green. So that's next to the SAP Center for where that is possibly going to go, but they're in fundraising mode. So there's no timeline for that to be built yet. And they're called Urban Confluence. So if you're interested, you can Google that and see what the winning design was and what the process was and kind of where they are in fundraising. And I'm sure they'll take your contributions if you're interested in supporting that as well. The next person is Janica. You're welcome.
Hi, good evening, council member. Sorry, I got distracted by kids. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good evening. My question was about the Guadalupe Park site. Is the plan for that already set for dog park and the different things? Has that been approved, or is that just sort of conceptual?
It is conceptual, and Andrea could probably chime in more. It's a conceptual, but it's a prototype park, so it's really going to be something that we have minimal. We didn't have plans for that to be a park, so we're going to try to do things as quickly as possible. That is new, as Andrea mentioned, it's new to District 6, so I have a little bit of information about it, and I'm working with the Parks Department, the capital team to get that up and running as soon as possible. But
so do you know if there'll be, since there is minimal capital available for this, do you know if there'll be any community meetings or input or anything? I'm vying for kids playing fields, that's all.
Oh, so it's not, they're not even going to level anything. They're literally just going to like throw up some disc golf and fence off a place for a dog park. It's not like, there's not the kinds of funds to make a ball field or a kids playing field.
But not only
Thank
that,
you so much.
You're welcome.
I just really want to make sure people understand the connection between that this is a airport flight path and this is land that the FAA, the Federal Aviation Administration, really governs what activities can occur there. So they have to be low density, very passive. And we already attempted to put soccer fields out there in a previous pass at this, and the FAA said no. So there can't be a lot of gatherings. We have a very robust, roller skating community, that wants, but unfortunately you can't really draw a whole lot of people. So it has to be low density activities. We'd love to add kids fields there, but we can't.
Yeah. And Chief, I think there was a question in the Q&A box that you wanted to answer live.
Well, first of all, let me just say, I did put my email address in there. I think some other people put it in too. It's Paul, Paul .joseph @sanjoseca.gov. Someone asked a question about police staffing, and they asked how many vacant positions are there? There aren't any vacant positions. Every budgeted position we have is filled, which is due to the hard work of Chief Eddie Garcia and the City Council and the City Manager's Office over the last 5 years. What we're hoping to do is increase the authorized strength to get it to where it was once upon a time.
We were able to do that because we actually fund a hire ahead program. And I think a lot of people probably don't know that.
Yes.
We had many vacancies, and then we increased the number of academies that we were able to have to address those vacancies. And then we still had kind of about somewhere in the neighborhood of about 100 vacancies, I think it was, before the hire ahead program, because of the number of people who are eligible to retire every year. And so we actually fund an additional academy, and sometimes 2 additional academies to account for everyone who is likely to retire in the following year, so that we always can stay at our budgeted number.
Correct, and that's hugely helpful. We don't have to wait for a vacancy to come up before we can hire for that position.
We always keep people in the pipeline.
And I'll note that's about a $7 million expenditure per year. And we only had it funded back to my other comments, we only had that funded on a one-time basis for 2 years. So we will be looking to refund that, hopefully on an ongoing basis in our next budget cycle.
Good. That's a very important program. We have another hand raised, Tessa Woodmansey.
Oh, we love you, Dev. Thank you for taking my question. Okay. All right. 1 minute. All right. Let's see. Well, I guess the most important thing is making San Jose a food garden again. And that needs to be integrated into, there's options with that. We need to make 615 a victory garden, or we can have housing there so that, and have a, what they call like a complementary or a companion garden. Whenever we do housing, we should be growing food for our food security. And then the other issue is Guadalupe Gardens, making that a garden of growing food. And, you know, Allery Middlebrook could be teaching us how to grow food. That would be a great program. And in addition, the problems with the farmers market, that the farmers market currently does not accept EBT, which is the food stamp program. And we need to change that because it isn't equitable and it's racist. And then the last thing is about Race Street. I think it'd be a great idea for Race Street to be closed on Saturday like Campbell does, so that we could have a farmer's market where the farm is. All right.
So there is a plan for the Guadalupe River Park to have an area, or part of the prototype plan. One of the ideas was to have part of that to be an additional community garden. This soil does have to be tested before that can happen, but that is definitely on the table. In terms of the farmers market in the Rose Garden, that is run by a private group that I think the neighborhood started that. And so that's an issue to take up with the neighborhood. I think it might be the Shasta-Hanchett Park Neighborhood Association. I'm not sure who brought in that provider, but it's worth talking to them about. All right, next, Virginia Thomas, hi.
Hi, how are you?
Good.
My issue had to do with the Guadalupe Gardens, because the way the plan stands now, there's almost 10 acres dedicated to disc golf. That group of people are as robust as the roller skating people. And I'd like to see something sort of open for seniors, whether we wanted to play badminton, croquet, volleyball. Give us some acreage so we can do some activities. We can bring our own things and set it up. And these are not large groups. The other thing, I'm so glad that you got Little Italy in the redistricting. And I'm sure that'll start, that restaurant will get up and going soon, because I know how good you are in getting things done. I just hope there's more lighting there at nighttime with us that are in the neighborhood and that walk over there, and beautify it a little bit more. That's all.
Thank you, Virginia. In terms of the croquet and those kinds of things, I will bring that up to parks. I'm not sure, you know, if it's an area where you could put your own croquet set, and that might work. But again, they're not going to be leveling the ground at all, because we really do want to get that in use as quickly as possible. And I do know that I think we have only one other disc golf place in the whole city, and I know that is well used, and that's why disc golf is on the idea board for the Guadalupe River Park. Andrea, anything to add to that?
We'll just be sure to get the next community input session to you so you can send it out to these folks.
Great. And I'm not sure, thank you. I'm not sure which restaurant you're talking about. It might be Poorhouse Bistro. I don't have any say in that. I know they're working hard to open up, but yeah, I actually am meeting with the Little Italy folks in the next couple of weeks. I know that's on my calendar, so I will be looking to hear what they have to say about the lighting and some other issues over there. So I'm just learning about that new part of the district. Susan? Can you unmute?
There we go. Yes. Good evening. Yeah, thank you for taking my question. This has to do with code enforcement and dealing with hoarders, people who collect stuff and it's compulsive. Because we just had a 3-alarm fire in our neighborhood last week, and the resident of the house was killed, died in that fire. And it was a 3-alarm fire. It took 13 fire trucks. Fruitdale was closed because of all the fire trucks, and so was Menker. But there had been several of us independently, unaware of each of the other, complaining to the city about this hoarder and the fire threat that this home presented. And it was a huge fire. and the home is pretty much destroyed. And now the place is going to have to be cleaned up. But I think that the hoarding is a mental health issue, and I think the city needs to work with the county mental health department to do something about this.
Thank you. Rosalind, I know that you're not the director of planning, building, and code enforcement anymore, but you are the deputy city manager who is most knowledgeable on this call about this issue. Can you address this, please?
Yes, certainly. Thank you so much, Councilmember Davis, and thank you for that comment. And certainly that was such a tragedy in the community and something that we obviously want to prevent in the future. And as the commenter mentioned, hoarding is a mental health issue. I know code enforcement staff, they've actually received specialized training in this area. It is, you know, a unique situation. And it can be challenging because we're dealing with homeowners, again, who have family members involved, not involved, those who want to cooperate, those who do not. I would say to the commenter, first and foremost, just making sure that if you see this happening in your neighborhood, to file a code complaint, and that gets the process started. We'll be able to send a code enforcement inspector to the site to do an inspection and an evaluation, and to see if there are other resources that the city does need to bring in. And as the commenter mentioned, in most cases, it's going to be services that are going to be offered by the county. And we work in coordination with the county to address these issues. Also, I'm going to drop in the chat because we have a special brochure on our website about the hoarding issue and some resources that we can provide.
Thank you.
Councilmember Davis, so we're at 7:46.
Yes.
And in respect to our guest speakers, we might want to start wrapping it up.
Yep. We don't have any more hands up either. And so I would just ask Isabel to put up our last slide. Just want to make sure everybody has our contact info. And I want to thank you all for coming this evening. Please do feel free to contact us if we weren't able to get to your question in the Q&A. You can contact us at district6@sanjoseca.gov. And there is our office phone number on the screen, as well as Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. You can follow the office at SJD6CA. Very much appreciate you all attending this evening. And I want to thank our guests for coming and speaking and presenting to us. Mayor Sam Liccardo, who had to leave a little bit early, City Manager Jennifer Maguire, as well as Deputy City Manager Rosalind Huey, Assistant Police Chief Paul Joseph, Andrea Flores Shelton, our Deputy Director from PRNS, as well as Olympia Williams from PRNS and Beautify SJ. Thank you so much for coming this evening and helping to educate and inform our residents. Have a nice evening, everybody.
See ya. Thank you.
Bye.